All set? All right, so we're going to call to order an annual meeting for the Philipstown Depot Theater Board. Under PDT laws, bylaws, their annual meeting of the members of the corporation, the town board, plus one member of the Recreation Commission, currently Claudio Marzolo, and one appointee from the PDT directors, currently Stephen Ives, elects 1/3 of the PDT's board of directors each year for a 3-year term. This takes place at the time of the town board's reorganizational meeting, which is this evening. So the PDT board has nominated the following 5 directors for re-election to the class of 2025. Claudio Marzolo, 256 Lane Gate Road. Christopher Nowak, 1225 Route 9D, Garrison. Catherine Plummer, P.O. Box 304, Cold Spring. Damian McDonald, 460 East Mountain Road North. And Karen Kapoor, 15 Fishkill Avenue. So we have an agenda. So Claudia, would you like to call the meeting to order?
I think you're the chair.
All right, then I will call the
You're
meeting.
the presiding officer.
I will call the meeting to order. Do we have a quorum, which we do? We have 5 town board members and Claudio, so.
I
we have-
would like to nominate the 5 members that have been.
You
whose
just
names-
nominated the list of directors that I've read off.
Right.
Correct. Can we get a motion to accept those 5 members as the class of 2025 for the Philipstown Depot Theater Board?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Vote aye, but I abstain on my own
Thank you.
nomination.
Thank you. So that's it, so we can adjourn. Okay.
No motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Claudio. Thank you very much. So why don't we rise for the pledge now, and then we'll jump right into the annual meeting for the relay. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So welcome, everyone, to the reorganizational meeting of the town of Philipstown, January 5th, 2023. Happy New Year to everybody. I'm just going to start out by saying I have a cold. I do not have COVID. I do not have a fever. I have what we used to call an old-fashioned cold. So I'm just letting you know we're going to blow right through this because my Sudafed is scheduled to wear out at about 8 o'clock, and there's no bets what's going to happen after that. So we're going to jump right into this. I'm not going to give any personal comments about any of the people on here. I appreciate everything that our employees do. We have a great staff, and I'm happy to reappoint them all to their positions. So, Tara, do you want me to start? You're all set?
I mean, do you want to do it? You can.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah.
No, I mean, I usually.
All right,
do
then
so
hit
if
it.
you don't
Hit
want
it.
to, I know you don't feel
Save
good,
your
so.
Sudafed.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
First is a resolution naming M&T Bank of Cold Spring as the designated bank in which all town officers shall deposit monies for the town of Philipstown.
Okay, so we have a resolution for M&T Bank. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution needed authorizing the supervisor to deposit town funds in one or more NOW accounts, money market accounts, and/or certificates of deposit, providing that deposits allow monies to be available or come due in a timely manner to permit the town to meet its financial obligations.
Motion on the certificates of deposit.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution needed compensating for use of automobiles in the performance of official duties at the rate of 62 cents per mile.
Motion on 62 cents per mile, although it was changed to 65, so we'll have to adopt it again, but.
Well, we don't have to.
Right,
So that's-
we'll go
yeah.
with 62 for now.
Okay.
Yep.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution needed scheduling the town board monthly meeting be held at 7:30 PM at the Town Hall, 238 Main Street, Cold Spring, New York, or 107 Glencliff Drive in Garrison on the first Thursday of each month, except when the same falls upon a legal holiday or due to extenuating circumstances, in which case the regular monthly meeting shall be held upon the following Thursday or such day as shall be determined by the town board at the regular meeting preceding such legal holiday.
I get a motion on the time and location of the town board meetings, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution needed, I was going to get rid of this. It's a resolution declaring that items for the regular town board agenda must be submitted no later than the Friday preceding the first Thursday of the month. I meant to remove it, because it...
You'd like to remove it?
Well, nobody abides by it.
Yeah, but I-
so-
Your gun,
Honestly, I
Sarah.
think we need to keep it in place, because
Okay.
it sets some guidelines.
Okay.
It's important that people have deadlines, so
Can I get a motion accepting Friday as the cutoff for the monthly town board meeting?
moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution authorizing the town board to hold monthly meetings at various locations in the town.
A motion to have variable locations for the town board meeting.
Is that just for monthly town board meetings? That can be,
Yeah, there's another one on here for
Yeah,
workshops.
at one point, we used to, like, we've had meetings at the Continental Village Clubhouse, we've had other locations. It just gives you an opportunity to move it if you'd like. So can I get a motion on a variable location for the town board meetings?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution that the town board may meet every Wednesday evening at 7:30 PM at the Town Hall, 238 Main Street, Cold Spring, New York, or 107 Glencliff Drive in Garrison, to discuss and act upon such business as may come before the board.
Resolution on supporting Wednesday evening workshops. Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution designating the Putnam County News and Recorder as the town's paper of record, and simultaneously, some legal notices and similar items of information will be sent to the Highlands Current.
Motion supporting the PCNR as the town's paper with simultaneous notifications to the Highland Current.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing O'Connor Davies LLC as the town auditors at an amount not to exceed that set forth in the 2023 budget.
Motion for O'Connor and Davies as our auditors.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution needed naming Supervisor Van Tassel to act as budget officer for the town of Philipstown at a salary not to exceed that set forth in the 2023 budget.
Motion on me being the budget officer.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I abstain.
Next is a resolution appointing Susan Kenny as the assistant budget officer at a salary not to exceed that set forth in the 2023 budget.
Motion supporting Sue Kenny as the assistant budget officer, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Van Tassel to appoint Susan Kenny as comptroller at a salary not to exceed that set forth in the 2023 budget.
Resolution authorizing me to appoint Sue Kenny as comptroller.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Van Tassel to appoint Ann Gallagher as confidential secretary to the supervisor at a salary not to exceed that set forth in the 2023 budget.
Resolution having me appoint Ann Gallagher as confidential secretary.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Van Tassel to appoint Maureen Etta as safety coordinator at a salary not to exceed that set forth in the 2023 budget.
Resolution for Maureen to be safety coordinator.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
And I vote, all in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution needed setting petty cash funds for the town clerk tax collector. It's not to exceed $450 at a time. For superintendent of highways, not to exceed $100 at a time. Board of assessors, not to exceed $65 at a time. Recreation department, not to exceed $450 at a time. Code administration, not to exceed $50 at a time. And justice, not to exceed $200 at a time.
Motion to set the petty cash funds as read.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Supervisor Van Tassel as a voting delegate to the Annual Association of Towns meeting and naming Town Clerk Percocello an alternate delegate in the event Supervisor Van Tassel is unable to attend.
Motion appointing Tara and I to delegates to the Annual Association of Town Meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Tara Percocello as Registrar of Vital Statistics for the town of Philipstown and that her compensation is the fee allowed by law.
Tara as registrar. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Allison Shea as aide to the town board at a salary not to exceed that set forth in the 2023 budget.
Allison Shea as aide to town board. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Greg Warner as Code Enforcement Officer and Fire Marshal at a salary not to exceed that set forth in the 2023 budget.
Greg Warner as Code Enforcement Officer. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Linda Valentino as Clerk to the Code Administrator at a salary not to exceed the amount set forth in the 2023 budget.
Linda as Clerk to the Code Administration. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Cheryl Rocket as Recording Secretary to the Planning, Zoning, and Conservation Boards at a salary not to exceed the amount set forth in the 2023 budget.
Cheryl Rocket as Recording Secretary to the boards. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Susan DiStefano as Clerk to the Assessor at a salary not to exceed the amount set forth in the 2023 budget.
Sue DiStefano as Clerk to the Assessor's Office. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing,
What about? Do we need to appoint Neil? Should there be a resolution for Neil as the deputy?
yes, I need to clarify exactly what his title is with
All right, so we can do it next
Because I
month.
wasn't sure if he was Deputy Fire Marshal, Deputy Code Administration, yeah. I
think it's
talked to
all-
Greg about it today.
Okay, all right, great, sorry.
No, that's
Go
good.
ahead.
Next is a resolution appointing Thomas Merrigan as Deputy Highway Superintendent at a salary not to exceed that set forth in the 2023 budget.
Tom Merrigan as Deputy Highway Superintendent. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Maureen Etta as Clerk supporting the Highway Department at a salary not to exceed that set forth in the 2023 budget.
Maureen Etta as Clerk to the Highway Department. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Terry Fleming as Clerk to the Highway Superintendent at a salary not to exceed that set forth in the 2023 budget.
Terry Fleming as Clerk to the Highway Superintendent. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Cindy Peragio as Clerk to the Town Justices at a salary not to exceed that set forth in the 2023 budget.
Cindy Peragio as Clerk to the Town Justices. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Mark Farlow as Town Historian.
Motion for Mark to be the Town Historian, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Drake Loeb PLLC as counsel to the Town of Philipstown to serve at the pleasure of the Town Board to advise the Town Board, Planning Board, Zoning Board, and handle special land use issues. Said attorneys to be compensated at the rate of $200 per hour to represent the Town Board, $200 per hour to represent the Zoning Board of Appeals, $600 per month to represent the Planning Board for general services, advice, and attendance at meetings, and at the rate of $200 per hour for time to be charged to applicants' matters. Legal services rendered for litigation in all state courts will be billed at $200 per hour and $225 per hour for litigation in federal court. Also charged to the town will be certain costs and disbursements in accordance with the provided schedule.
Resolution appointing Drake Loeb and PLLC as counsel to all the boards at the rates set forth in this resolution.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Robert Chinque as counsel to handle various litigation matters, including tax certiorari, litigation, and shall be compensated at a rate of $150 per hour plus out-of-pocket expenses.
Resolution appointing Robert Cinque as counsel to handle various litigation matters. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Robert Cinque as counsel to the town attorney to handle code prosecutions and advise code administrator officer at the rate of pay not to exceed that set forth in the 2023 budget.
Resolution appointing Robert Cinque as counsel to the town attorney to handle code prosecution and advise code administration officer at a rate not to exceed that set and forth in the 2023 budget. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Tara K. Percocello and Joan Klaus as marriage officers.
Motion for Tara and Joan to be marriage officers, please.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next, Supervisor Van Tassel to appoint Robert Flaherty as deputy supervisor.
Appoint Robert Flaherty as my capable deputy supervisor again, if you'll accept.
Sure.
Thank you.
Pleasure, honor, and pleasure.
Thank you.
Next, Town Clerk Percocello to appoint Kelly McIntyre as deputy town clerk, deputy tax collector, and deputy registrar at a salary not to exceed that set forth in the 2023 budget. I hereby appoint Kelly McIntyre as Deputy Town Clerk, Deputy Tax Collector, and Sub-Registrar at a salary not to exceed that set forth in the 2023 budget. You don't have a choice.
A motion to appoint, well, it's your appointment, so
Yeah.
we'll do a motion to appoint Kelly McIntyre as the Deputy Town Clerk and Deputy Tax Collector and Deputy Registrar, and a salary not to exceed that set forth in the 2023 budget. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Andrew Galler, Chairman of the Conservation Board.
Can I get a motion for Andy Galler to be Chairman of the Conservation Board again?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution authorizing compensation for the Garrison School Crossing Guard as per budget allocations not to exceed that set forth in the 2023 budget.
Resolution appointing the Garrison School Crossing Guard per the budget. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing the following to the Continental Village Water District. Ralph Bassignani as Superintendent, Diane Barton as Water Tax Collector, Steve Leclerc as Assistant Water Treatment Plant Operator, and Bill Rim as Assistant Superintendent.
Resolution appointing the following that Tara read off for the Continental Village Water District. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Mike Fallon, Ralph Bassignani, and Vinnie Sistone to the Continental Village Water District Advisory Committee.
Resolution appointing Mike Fallon, Ralph Bassignani, Vincent Sistone to the Continental Village Water District. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Michael Fallon as Superintendent of the Continental Village Park District.
Mike Fallon is Superintendent of the Continental Village Water District. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing the following to the Continental Village Park District Advisory Council: John Sullivan, Gorski Estrella, Vincent Sistone, and Ralph Bassignani.
Resolution appointing the read-off names for the Continental Village Park District Advisory Council. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution setting the recreation pay scale for 2023 as follows. For sports directors and managers for the season, it's between $800 and $1,800. For youth assistants, and this is hourly, it's between $14.20 and $25. For adult referees and umpires, it's between $15 and $30 per hour. For youth referees and umpires, it's between $14.20 and $25 an hour. For scorer or timer, it's $14.20 to $25 an hour. Equipment handlers are $14.20 to $25 an hour. Preschool and after-school directors are $14.20 to $50 an hour. Assistants are between $14.20 and $25 an hour, and custodial are between $14.20 and $25 an hour. And for directors and instructors for camps, clinics, and theater, it's between $14.20 and $45 an hour. For certified teachers, it's between $14.20 and $45 an hour. For youth assistants, it's between $14.20 and $45 an hour. For specialists, it's between $20 and $65 an hour. And for park and facilities maintenance, it's between $14.20 to $25 per hour.
Okay, resolution approving the recreation pay scale for 2023 as Tara has read off, please.
So moved.
Second.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
We were just having a conversation. Is the minimum wage in New York $15 an hour? Are these allowed to be below 15?
It's $14.20 an hour, as far as I know, outside of Westchester and the city, I believe. Steve, am I?
There's a higher minimum wage in the city. I do not know what the minimum wage is up here, to be perfectly honest with you. They
It was
changed.
$13.20 last year, and it was upped to $14.20. Hockle just upped it at the very
Every
beginning
year,
of the
I
year.
think it steps up.
Yes.
Why don't we amend it to say minimum wage to the upper scales as directed? So if the minimum wage is higher,
Well, John, what I'd suggest is, these aren't going to start right away, are they? There's nobody who's going to be drawing salary off this till.
now, so.
So you can adopt it tonight, and if you need to amend it, you can amend it afterward. I don't like to leave it vague as, I mean, what it changes, you know.
Okay, that's fine. So we'll leave it the way it is, and then we can change it if it is higher. All right, thank you, Steve. Okay, so can we get a motion to approve the pay scales?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution setting the 2023 hourly rate for part-time stenographers and part-time clerks as follows. We have Ryan Allen at the Recycling Center at $17 an hour, and Lillian Mosier as the School Crossing Guard at $20 an hour.
Okay, motion, I don't know why they're listed as part-time stenographers or clerks. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
That's how
But
it's always been.
we'll set Ryan's scale and Lillian's scale at $17 and $20 as read. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Neil Zuckerman as chairman of the planning board.
Motion for Neil to chair the planning board again.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Robert D. as chairman of the zoning board of appeals.
Robert D. as chairman of the zoning board. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Max Garfinkel as wetlands inspector and natural resource officer.
Max Garfinkel as wetlands inspector. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Karen Jackson as dog control officer.
Karen Jackson is dog control officer. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Glenn P. Malia as special prosecutor for Judge Linson at an hourly rate of $150 an hour.
Glenn Malia as a special prosecutor for Judge Linson, please. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution appointing Angel Falcon as town prosecutor at an hourly rate of $150.
Angel Falcon as town prosecutor at $150 an hour. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next, Supervisor Van Tassel appoints the following council members as liaisons to the following. For the Highway Committee, Robert Flaherty. For the Putnam County Liaison, Jason Angel. Planning Board, Robert Flaherty. Land and Building, John Van Tassel. Zoning Board, Megan Cotter. Conservation Board, Jason Angel. Village of Nelsonville, Megan Cotter. Village of Cold Spring, Robert Flaherty. CVPOA, Jason Angel. Haldane School, Judy Farrell and Megan Cotter. Garrison School, Megan Cotter and Judy Farrell. Recreation, Judith Farrell. Philipstown Hub, Judy Farrell. Butterfield Library, Judy Farrell. Information Liaison, Judy Farrell. And for the Trails Committee, Jason Angel.
Okay, before we do this, does anybody want to change? Is anybody happy with what they have or looking for getting rid of anything? No, you all
I am happy.
happy?
Happy.
You want everybody happy? Happy place. Bob?
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right, good. Okay, so let's, we'll get a motion to approve that as read off.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
And next is the 2023 holiday schedule. So we have Martin Luther King Day, which is Monday, January 16th. President's Day, which is Monday, February 20th. Good Friday, which is Friday, April 7th. Memorial Day, which is Monday, May 29th. Juneteenth, which is Monday, June 19th. Independence Day, which is Tuesday, July 4th. Labor Day, which is Monday, September 4th. Columbus Day, which is Monday, October 9th. Election Day, which is Tuesday, November 7th. Veterans Day, Friday, November 10th. Thanksgiving, we have the Thursday, and the following Friday is taken with time. Christmas, Monday, the 25th, and the following day is also taken with time. And then there's the New Year's Day in 2024,
Okay.
which is a Monday.
Can I get a resolution approving the 2023 holiday schedule, please?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. And I vote aye.
And that's all I have.
Excuse me, you got 5 minutes.
That's got to be a record.
You do have to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn the reorganizational meeting?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? And I vote aye.
It's only 7:26, so we do have to wait until 7:30 to start the regular meeting.
Yeah. Steve, can we do an executive session prior to starting the regular meeting?
The problem is you adjourned, so now there's no meeting until 7:30, so you can't.
Start.
only go into
Sorry,
executive
that's my
session.
fault. I
That's all
didn't
right.
realize that. No. Have to hold it.
Can you all rise for the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome to the January meeting of the Philipstown Town Board. I'd like to wish everybody a happy new year. And I'm also going to let you know I have a cold, so I'm COVID negative. I have no fever, but my Sudafed is going to wear off about 8 o'clock. So as I said earlier, all bets are off when that wears off. So we're going to try to get through the agenda very quickly. But first, we have a quick executive session we'd like to go into. So, Steve, we need a motion for that? Yes, we do. Can I get a motion to go into executive session, please? Confidential legal advice. Yes, for confidential legal advice. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, and I vote, we go in. Can I get a support on the vote?
Yeah.
I vote
And I
aye.
vote aye.
We're all like, wait, what?
We're just going to go in the back room very quickly. Okay, we're out of executive session. Can I get a motion to close executive session and go back to our regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you. Sorry for the delay, folks. Okay, approval of minutes, monthly meeting, December 1, 2022. Motion, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Year-end meeting, December 14th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Committee reports, Conservation Board.
Conservation Board met on December 13th, 7:30 PM. Magazino was on the docket. They put in some signposts without getting a wetlands permit. DEC issued them a notice of violation. They're looking for alternative locations for their next signs on the west side of Route 9. Forest Farm at 20 Forest Farm Road. The Conservation Board is scheduling a site visit to look at a plan to dredge a silted area in a pond. Welcome Homes at 1557 Route 9 is seeking approval to construct a single-family house within a wetlands buffer. They've been in front of the Conservation Board a number of meetings now. The Conservation Board issued a permit based on the fact that the applicant had expanded the amount of conserved area, improved their septic system, and increased the mitigation because they were close to the wetlands buffer. And 15 Kings Dock Road was the last case. They've been in front of the Conservation Board for a fairly long time now. They're trying to build a pool and build a house addition, and there's some concerns about steep slopes, disturbance. They presented 4 alternative pool designs to reduce that slope disturbance. Ron Gaynor, the town engineer, believes that it might result in more than 2,000 feet of steep slope disturbance, and it may move it out of the Conservation Board's purview. The next meeting of the Conservation Board is next Tuesday, January 10th at 7:30 p.m. That's it. Yep.
Recreation.
Good evening. The Recreation Commission met on December 14th. Cecily Hall, Interim Director of Philipstown Recreation, reports that our winter session is kicked off with a huge lineup of offerings for people of all ages. For children, we have the youth theater production of Peter Pan coming up, which will be performed in April. Each afternoon, the Rec Center is offering art, sports, and cooking classes for children, along with a number of sports clinics and programs, including basketball, lacrosse, and soccer. There's also a class totally devoted to indoor Gaga Pit games, which is an extremely popular sport for the local children, and it's indoors in the winter months. Music and Me classes have relaunched for our babies and toddlers as well. For adults, the lineup of fitness and art classes continues each week, and there are classes of art and fitness devoted to seniors as well. They are aiming to launch pickleball indoors this spring. I'm very excited about that. With 2 portable nets, courts side by side in our gym, which will be a welcome addition to programming at the Rec Center. And speaking of the gym, this winter the gym is fully booked from morning to evening, 7 days a week, with rec programming and ongoing rentals for the community. There is progress on the pavilion in Philipstown Park with the purchase of fixtures for the building, and we're looking forward to the fixtures being installed this spring. The next meeting of the Recreation Commission is Tuesday, January 30th at 7:30 at the Recreation Center.
What an amazing accomplishment it'll be to have that pavilion finally complete.
Yes,
I mean,
it's beautiful.
It's a wonderful
It is.
spot, so thank you.
So it's great for the community. Yeah.
Okay, Philipstown Hub, that's you too, Judy.
Thank you, John. The Executive Director, Lori Sigalos, reports that the Philipstown Hub has received a new grant for new programs for seniors in Philipstown. The grant, $15,000, was awarded by the Field Hall Foundation, and the Hub is dedicating this funding to senior citizens and their caregivers in Philipstown. More information about the program will be available soon. There is accessibility during inclement weather to Hub services, which will be virtual services, and they will be fully HIPAA compliant so that people's confidentiality is protected during the winter months. For the month of December 2022, the Hub served 198 participants, and from July of 2022 through December 2019, participants had contact with the Hub for services, which is incredible. That keeps increasing the demand for services, and we have new leadership that's really responding with new staff. There's a new peer advocate at the Hub, and that information can be found on the website, as well as information about how you can donate to support the Hub's services for our community. There are compliant virtual appointments available Monday through Friday, and you can also contact the Hub at its storefront in downtown Cold Spring, and visit the website to register for free Narcan training and sign up for the Hub's newsletter, Hub Happenings, at philipstownhub.org. It's very easy to sign up for everything at that site.
Thank you to the Hub. Planning Board.
Planning Board met on December 15th. They only had one item on the agenda. But first, before we go to that, I'd like to thank Kim Connor, who's resigned from the Planning Board over many years of service. I think she's on the Planning Board for 10-plus years or so maybe longer now. So I've been on the board for 8, and so she's been here longer than me. So the only thing on the agenda was the Kingsley Tree Landscaping. They're building a new building, a 3,200 square foot building on Old Albany Post Road. It's approximately 80 by 40. They've been in front of the Planning Board for approximately 5 to 6 months, and that got approved. That was it. This was the quickest meeting ever on the record that I'm going to know of a Planning Board meeting. It was adjourned at 7:45.
You just jinxed yourself.
Yeah. Next meeting will be January 19th.
Okay, thank you, Bob. And yes, we read off Kim's letter last month. We all had a lot of nice things. Kim was a wonderful servant for the town of Philipstown and for everybody that did anything in the town. She's worked very hard, continues to work with Tara on the webpage.
So we're in the process of interviewing some new candidates. We had another candidate from a couple months ago that's interested in too, so, but we'll hopefully have a replacement relatively soon.
Tara?
Not yet.
We need to do a motion for that tonight?
No, you guys approved the motion at the last meeting. It's
I
just, I
thought
got
so.
a little sidetracked with
Okay,
taxes.
so we are in search of a new planning board member. Anybody interested out there, please submit a resume to the supervisor or to the town clerk's office. Thank you. Okay, zoning.
Happy New Year, first off. Zoning Board did not meet in December, so I know, it was wonderful. So we'll be meeting January 9th at 7:30, come one, come all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Meg.
Okay, Highway submitted by Adam Hoteling, Superintendent of the Highway Department. We're performing for the Philipstown Highway Department the month of December. Here we are in a new year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year 2023, everybody. Winter is upon us, and the highway crews have been out on the roads during storms, keeping the roads clear. The last storm on Christmas weekend started out as rain, and then torrential rains caused much flooding. As you can see, there was a lot of flooding around all over town that weekend. Especially if anyone went down by the river, that was over flooded as well, as you could see. Anyway, so the town was out there fixing many potholes and so forth like that after that. And also, after rain, it got very cold, and a lot of that rain turned into ice. So they're outstanding. It was caused a lot of hazardous situations throughout the town, but they handled them all. As far as I could tell, there was no complaints after that, so very good job on that. Early this month, the crews are out cleaning pipes, waterways, potholes, and spot grading. Other note, when calling the Highway Department for complaints, please be considerate of the women up there taking the phone calls. They didn't want people, I guess they had a couple people who were very rude to them this last month, so please be pleasant to them. They're doing the best that they can. We're asking residents please to remove any outdoor basketball hoops that are around town. If you drive through some towns and some roads, you see some basketball hoops that are portable, and a lot of them around on the road, on the corner road. So please have those removed, because it's very hard to plow snow with those in the way. Town Board passed a resolution awarding the Highway Department bids in 2023. We did that last month. Feel Safe Technical Associations is also going to be the alarm system with the new highway garage. The Highway Department received approximately 25 calls, emails regarding roads and concerns, issues over the month of December. Majority of those calls were in reference to road conditions during the Christmas storm. For the month of December, the Highway Department spent approximately $4,200 in vehicle maintenance. Thank you. Adam Hoteling.
While we're on it, the building is close to being complete. I know there's some odds and ends to wrap up. I did just send an email to the construction crew. The builder's risk insurance policy expires January 26th, and I don't want to renew it. I hope all the contractors are off-site by then. And I kind of made that clear to them, so hopefully it'll work out and we'll get out of there. I have nothing else for building and land acquisitions. Bobby, anything?
Well, I don't know, on the Garrison Landing Water District, we've had a substantial leak down there the last few weeks or so forth, and we spent a lot of time down there. We've hired a lot of people, professionals, and figure out where the leak is. Unfortunately, the leak is underneath the tracks, and it's making us very difficult also to repair that. So we're in the process of drawing up some designs with our town engineer, and once we get all the approvals, we'll move forward.
Yes. Potentially, we're going to utilize the underpass in Garrison, enter below grade on the east side of the tracks, go through the tunnel itself, elevated in an insulated pipe, and come out below grade on the other side and tie back in and just abandon the line that's underneath the railroad tracks. We looked into what's called directional boring. And I think it was a little over $200,000 to do the directional boring, so we're going to avoid that. The problem is the pipe is in a 4-inch steel sleeve. Inside that is a 2-inch poly pipe that goes through under the tracks. We could take the chance of pulling the pipe out, the 2-inch pipe, but then if we can't get the new 2-inch line through, there's no water on the west side of the tracks, which would not make people happy. So we're going to abandon that. Our very capable town engineer came up with this plan. We were going to do a temporary line through the subway, we call it the subway, the underpass, to serve while the other repair was being done. But Ron came up with, why don't we just leave it there? And then this way it's protected, it's inside that concrete building. It will be insulated. They use this pipe in Canada and Minnesota, wherever, and it doesn't freeze. So we're hoping, we've applied for permits through the Metro North. Ron is on it today. We had a few email exchanges today about it, so hopefully it'll get wrapped up. On the other end of the Garrison Landing is the new well that we drilled. The well is very substantial, 15 gallons a minute or more. We had a problem accessing it due to the amount of rainfall we had. The mud on the property is like waist deep. We had to apply to OSI to put in a temporary road, like a road bed across the field there to access the well. So that's been approved. The Highway Department is going to start construction of the road on Monday, weather permitting. So it's moving along. Hopefully, we're going to have an end to the Garrison Landing Water District issues soon. Yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed. So that's it for that. Cemetery Committee.
We did not meet in December. I did reach out to Taggart, and he's going to be sending me a list of what he's going to be looking forward to getting completed for the 2023. So once I have that, I'll be able to share that.
Putnam County Legislator Montgomery is making a presentation for us this evening at an Eagle Scout event at Our Lady of Loretto. So I thank her for doing that. She's been doing a great job. I actually attended the swearing in of the new officers. It was on last Friday at the historic courthouse. It was an impressive event. I wish the best of luck to all of them and look forward to working with all the newly elected officials. So that's it. I'm sure Nancy will Legislator Montgomery will make a report to us next month. And I thank her for going down to Our Lady of Loretto for us. So, all right, we're going on with the agenda.
First, we have a representative from Hudson Valley Energy in relation to the CCA here to discuss steps for the program and answer any questions anyone might have.
How are you? Good evening.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm Jeff Demansky. I'm the executive director of a nonprofit called the Center for Economic and Environmental Partnership. And I've been the partner to the program administrator called Jewel Assets, also known as Jewel Community, that Philipstown and Cold Spring and now Nelsonville have engaged as the guide for the exploration for potential launch of the CCA program. And since 2019, Philipstown and Cold Spring have had live active community choice aggregation or CCA programs. And for reasons I'll explain shortly, we're now in the exploratory phase of potentially doing it again. see if it makes sense to enter into another electricity supply rate contract on behalf of the community members of now all three of these communities at the same time, which is lovely that we're coordinated together. It's my role as the nonprofit partner is to be the presence within the communities. I live right in Beacon, and we have continued to have a presence, and I love doing this aspect of the program, being a resource to talk about what the program is and answer many other questions about the energy marketplace. This effort tonight, I'm very glad to be here to explain where we've come from in brief and what is on the horizon, but this is actually officially part of our outreach efforts as part of the exploration, so if you'll forgive me, I have a clipboard. If you would sign in, if I could pass this through, and actually you guys all have pens up there, but I'll share this for the audience if you'd like to just sign my sheet. This goes to the state as part of our outreach process. But now, just in brief to explain where we've come from, and there's some very good questions that Councilman Angel has shared with me, and please, make sure I address most of the questions that you had. But again, to repeat, this is a program enabled by the state in 2016 that allows cities and towns and villages to act on behalf of their community members. Every resident, every business, every institution, church can take advantage of this program if and when it launches. And what it is, there's a number of tools underneath this policy mechanism called CCA, or Community Choice Aggregation. The main tool that we focused on is, to use an analogy, in essence, what the term means, communities aggregating together for a new choice, and for our focus, this first tool is on electricity supply rates. And what we had in 2019, starting in 2019, in July, for a 2-year contract with a company called Direct Energy, was a fixed rate at about 6.5 cents. That was, and the idea is that it's a win-win-win scenario. It's a buying club for a very competitive rate that's fixed for the duration of the contract. So for that 24 months, starting in 2019, it was about 6.5 cents, and the default choice, the new default choice, replacing the state default, where the state says if you don't make a choice in the supply marketplace, Central Hudson will make that choice for you. The default choice was a rate that was also a mechanism by which all of your supply payments through your Central Hudson bill, this does not displace Central Hudson's delivery services or billing services, all of those dollars for supply go to renewable sources, production sources in New York State. We did and had, despite the challenges of a strange marketplace with the pandemic, we had a successful run in that 2-year contract, and Philipstown and Cold Spring and Beacon and Nelsonville started the process of joining with a number of other communities, including Poughkeepsie and the New Paltzes and others. A big aggregation did it again in 2021. We went out, we did the public education process, and Jewel led the process of issuing a request for proposals and identified through that competitive process a new supplier called Columbia Utilities, and when we entered into a 3-year agreement for a fixed rate electricity rate program that was starting in July of 2021 and was supposed to run through June of 2024. That was a very continuing and even more strange time in the energy marketplace. Do we need the pen? I can. By the way, when you get the clipboard, there is a flyer. There's a number of flyers attached to it for the upcoming public education events we're doing here in Nelsonville and Philipstown and Cold Spring, so feel free to grab one. My only ask of tonight is helping to spread the word about what we're doing, so the flyers can help, and I'll be distributing these around the communities by this weekend. So we had a 3-year fixed contract with Columbia Utilities. We entered a stranger world in the energy marketplace because of coming out of the heels of the pandemic, and the war in Ukraine affected global energy markets, which led to very strange rate choices, which had an impact on anyone who's not in our program. We also had, not related to our program, but there was that 3-year contract started in July of 2021. Many of you know that around September of 2021, the nightmare of Central Hudson's billing issues started and were confounded by our program, and argued by Columbia Utilities had influence on their ability to operate within the program, which is something they maintain. Columbia Utilities maintains that the billing challenges, the flow of dollars through Central Hudson to them from the participants in the program was challenging. It's more likely that the significant differences, utility rates went very high, and our program participants were protected from that by the fixed rate that we were in, which led to desire by Columbia Utilities, mainly framed on this idea, suggestion that the Central Hudson billing issues were the main problem, which we don't believe are true, but they sought to get out of the program. The administrator fought diligently with the coordination of the communities and the state, the Public Service Commission, to keep them in, but Columbia Utilities, which was a very financially viable company when they were vetted by Jewel through a very rigorous process of a request for qualifications, request for information, and then responding to the request for proposals. They were a financially viable company, but they found a backdoor way out of the program by defaulting on their payment to the New York State Independent System Operator, basically the overseer of the utility grid. And so in July of 2021, we ended the contract with them. They got out of the contract. So we only had 1 year of a program. That was incredibly good for the participants of the program, of one year. In that 1 year, just in Philipstown alone, the difference between what people paid for the 100% renewable fixed rate and what they would have paid with Central Hudson's monthly variable rate for predominantly non-renewables calculated to be $940,000 plus collectively across just in Philipstown. So significant amounts, $300 to $400 per household is the estimate. Significant environmental benefits, over 30 million kilowatt hours consumed in that 1 year, so 30 million kilowatt hours of consumed renewable power in New York State, more demand for renewables. That avoided about 3,500 metric tons of CO2 avoided, so significant environmental benefits. Multiply that 3,500 metric tons by 3 for the 3 years that were in the contract, and this points out the benefit, why the state is interested in doing this, why communities are doing this, because it is a fantastic mechanism to, one, have more price certainty for your electricity rates, promote renewable production in New York State, and 3, have protections from bad actors in the energy marketplace, which remains, and as we look forward, is even more so going to be the case. Jewel, because it was focused on keeping Columbia in the program, did not have immediate supplier replacement to continue the program, and because the market was very strange to go out for an RFP when utility rates are so high, it was not the time to go into a new contract. But they've kept an eye on the marketplace in conversation with the community leaders of the partner communities and determined that this spring, based on the futures, the indicatives in the energy marketplace, it is the right time to consider, to look at whether, starting a new contract. So that's where we are right now. We're doing the required public outreach for this, and there's anticipation that in about March of this year, Jewel will have a request for proposals, which they'll vet with the community leaders. There will be a energy supply agreement, the contract that the communities would sign if a supplier is selected, and the supplier would sign it as well, which is not the same one that it was in our previous contracts. Because of the experiences had and the lessons learned, as the leadership will see, a very improved, very redlined version of the supply contract will be shared with you within a few weeks, which really strongly emphasizes even more consumer protection elements, basically to prevent this kind of exiting by another supplier in the future. So it is a nature of CCA program generally that it is a continually evolving and improving program, but on the very near term, it is that we have before us. So the timeline that we're looking at, and I don't believe I've answered all of your questions yet, but the timeline that we're looking at is public outreach never stops, but for this formal period, we're going to continue to do this until we have a request for proposals put together by March, which it is Jewel's hope that if the marketplace looks correct, the communities agree, it will be issued on behalf of the partner communities. Responses will come back late March. There will be a discussion about the options. We will look at, Jewel is going to ask for fixed rate contract again, but because of some of the challenges experienced previously, they also have a mechanism they're very excited by, which is, to appropriately call it, it is a variable rate approach to this, supporting renewables, but it's not a monthly variable rate. It's something that it's formulaic and it basically has guardrails on it that adjust to potential fluctuations in the market mechanism, but it still shields people from the significant fluctuations that could be experienced and ultimately, as described by Jewel to me, in essence, becomes a fixed rate contract towards the latter end of the contract period that will be determined. I know that's very complex, but we can definitely dig into more details and questions or other conversations. Please do approach me. The number on the flyer, you can call us up for deeper conversation. The beauty, too, potentially of this variable rate contract versus the fix is that it leaves open the ability to bring in even more local projects. There's some flexibility that the supplier, in conjunction with Jewel, would have to support more local renewable energy projects as part of the program, which is one of the other tools in that Swiss Army knife analogy that this program is wonderfully structured to promote. So if there is an acceptance of a proposal in that March period, that would mean there'd be an announcement through letters sent to everyone who is the eligible customers, this new default offering that is determined by the collective of the communities of the participants in about April of this year. And that would mean that we go into more education about the details of the program and a live program, potentially, fingers crossed, everything works out, early summer of this year, for a contract period, which we will know once we see the proposals, at a rate or rates that will be determined at that time as well. I'm going to look at my question list, but that's the remarks I'm generally going to share, and I'm glad to answer questions.
First of all, Jeff, thank you for coming in, and
My pleasure.
we met with you, the two mayors, Mayor of Cold Spring and Nelsonville, Jason and I, and we met, it was early November with your entire team at Nelsonville Town Hall, Village Hall, I'm sorry. There's no doubt the program was a success. It saved people money and it saved the environment. So those two things. Unfortunately, it didn't end the way any of us wanted it to, and it fell apart badly. And when we met that day, we all went in there with the intentions. I won't speak for anybody else. I think most of us were were in agreement that it needed to be an opt-in program instead of an opt-out program. And you explained that to us, and we discussed it, and it's just not something that's viable as an opt-in program. You just don't get the volume. Yeah. But we were assured by you that day and your team that the opt-out version, the opting out process will be very simple. Last time, I mean, we got complaints. I was on the phone for 3 hours trying to get out, and you have no right choosing a power company for me. And as you explained, which is really logical, we don't choose who provides Central Hudson with power either. So if you buy your power from Central Hudson, you have no decision-making ability there, which is stuff that, if you're not in this industry, you don't even think about, but it's very true. So that was my take. It had to be, if we're going to sign into it, and, I'm looking forward to seeing the program, but for me, if we're going to sign into it, the opt-out needs to be as simple as a form or an email, a simple phone call, I'm out, and this is my address. So, and I think you've assured us that is the way it will be, and it was that way, but I think it was just overwhelmed.
In the very, very beginning, in our
In the
first
beginning,
contract,
right,
yes.
in the
And
first
when we
one.
had some reliance on, there was a determination that we should have direct energy,
Right.
large company, as being part of the phone tree for answering phone calls.
Right.
And when we determined within the first couple of days that was not a good idea, it was just all me and my team. And I think they went wonderfully smoothly after that. Sometimes we had to take messages and call back, but I think we had a really good success
I
rate.
think we actually discussed this time, when the letter goes out, the form would be in that letter.
It is. It was last time. It is.
If you
There's-
want to opt out, we could have those forms here at Village Hall, so I would certainly be in favor of going forward with it, provided that the opt-out version is made very easy. Jason, I know you had listed a bunch of questions.
I did. I think, Jeff, you've got one of the hardest jobs trying to communicate this whole program. And like John said, I'm a personally full supporter of the CCA. It's hands down the most impactful environmental thing that we've done in the town of Philipstown, save people money. And so that's all good. But, some of the tough questions because of that, the CCA administrator, or Jules' job, is really, the core job is to vet the CCA supply contracts to make sure like bad apples aren't there. And so in this next round, in March, how, besides this variable rate, can you just go over again, like how is the CCA administrator going to make sure that there's not another bad apple, there's not another Columbia in the mix here? Because it really, like you said, it really threatened the CCA's viability, and it's such a powerful program. So it's
Yeah, in the previous iterations of the request for proposal process, part of the benefit of this aggregation, this buying club, is encouraging competition among qualified companies, suppliers that can be viable. And Juul did have a very good process, and as I mentioned, Columbia was, at the time, a very viable company. And I still believe they are, but what changed underneath is a very significantly challenging marketplace with globally what was happening. So I can't honestly speak to their position now, even though they did exit from the program. But Juul's learning process through this is that competition is still very valuable, but the program has matured too, where it's not, this is several years old now. Players are well known, and so Juul going into this is going to work with a smaller pool of likely proposers for the program, including those that there are some ESCOs out there that have very big balance sheets, and fluctuations in the marketplace, they're much more insulated from that. And so that is what Juul is anticipating going forward, that Columbia was very, had a long history, was in over 9 states in the energy marketplace, so they were good, but they are not the biggest. And so they were susceptible. There is some possible viability to Central Hudson's billing challenges did have impact on their revenue flows on a monthly basis. This will not be the case, as Juul describes it, in the pool of companies that they're going to allow to propose going forward.
Anyone else?
Well, I agree that there should be competitiveness, but solid track records from all of the companies that respond to the RFP, I would hope for, and that you will vet that to ensure that they have solid track records of keeping their commitments to the communities that they serve.
Absolutely. And it is, evolving. That the word that I use, and it's in the name of my nonprofit, but it's about partnership. And even in the competitive bid for suppliers to be part of the program, some of the viable bidders are ones that have been part of the program in the past. A company called Constellation, for example, has been on repeat contracts with the Rockland Community Power Program for Orange and Rockland territory. And they are, they see there's an open marketplace. Businesses have to make money. But there is a bigger picture that even these companies see, and they are partners in this process, willing to, and interested in being part of this program because of its bigger mission and what it delivers. That it does have significant real-world market impacts, is creating a demand pool through this aggregation of communities. That's really valuable.
And I would just ask that the messaging and communications about the rate, that it may be a variable rate, be clear, so that people aren't anticipating a fixed rate if it's not going to be a fixed rate.
Yeah, and it's something, a bias of mine, doing the outreach and communications. I love this part of being in the community and being a resource, but the one potentially even upside of if it's decided that the variable rate is preferable, and we'll have to see what it looks like, it will require much more active, very specific communication about any changes in that rate, which I think is just wonderful, that we'll have much more enhanced, and frequent communications.
Can I ask just a follow-up question on that?
Yes.
To this point about communications, all of the news about the environmental impact, the price savings, what the rate is, the fact that people can leave the program anytime they want, it's great to have it's great to have an e-blast every once in a while, but in terms of having like a real public communications effort, it would really help the program. And I know I asked this, just as a question, does Juul have, what is the budget that Juul puts towards public communications within the communities they're working in terms of the work you're doing? And then I had a larger question about how does that compare to the budget that Juul gets as the CCA administrator out of the supply contract, just to get a sense of how much resources Juul is planning to devote to the communications, which would make everybody's job probably a lot easier in terms of people not knowing what's going on.
Right, no, and I definitely agree with that. And even, and one of the other hats I wear is as part of the Clean Energy Communities program. I'm a subject matter expert on CCA and make recommendations to NYSERDA about the design of programs. And maybe it's a bit of hammer and nail with my perspective on outreach, but I'm suggesting that the state even put more support for communications in the communities. Because this is, it's a mission-driven program, largely. It's a lean operation. If a program doesn't launch, all the time spent in the exploration and the RFP process, that's not paid for by, and no payment comes from the municipality. Payment to the administrator comes from a administrative fee that's a per kilowatt hour, cents per kilowatt hour, baked in, it's like 0.08 of a cent of every kilowatt hour consumed. A specific number in the year for Philipstown, that 1 year contract of Columbia, Jewel earned $25,000, for that 1 year of the program from the administrative fee, which pays for my time, my team's time, and the communications out, and their time, and all the legal fees and the like too. So it's a lean operation, and it requires, and one of the reasons that Jewel, and they did go above and beyond in having a partner, a nonprofit partner within the community for the communications purposes, because of the importance of the localism and the symbiotic relationships for doing outreach. And more needs to be done. And this is a great reminder, as I was thinking about tonight too, like to get more direct communications, not just electronic communications, e-blast, looking for symbiotic relationships. Like if there's a water and sewer mailing where we could insert the annual update talking about the program and reminders about the program, if we could align with every municipal mailing, that's a beautiful, symbiotic opportunity for us to get more word out about the program, which we will continue to seek to do.
Thanks for sharing that.
Anybody from the public have any questions? He's here. This is the time to ask. Yes, Heidi.
So I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say as a member of the public that I'm very much in support of the program, and I really hope our community can be a part of this program, because it's, aside from the cost savings, it means a lot to me and to my almost 32-year-old daughter who also lives in Philipstown, and her soon-to-be husband, that we are climate smart community and are doing everything we can to ensure that we're using renewables. So, and I would just say, I hope those renewables would mostly not be hydropower from Canada that's coming down necessarily, in a channel through the Hudson, but hopefully from local decentralized renewables. That's my hope, as much as possible. But I would just say that for both for my husband and I, and for our, young children, early 30s children, that we really, really hope that the community would support this kind of program to, as a climate smart community.
Thank you. Great.
Okay, hand on the microphone.
Oh, hi. Thank you. I don't know if we can do this briefly, but I'm just wondering if you can help me correlate the reduction in cost with my electric bill. So you said back in July is when the program went into effect. 2021, July 2021, right. Okay, and at that point, I noticed a 3% drop in our electric bill that went out for about a year. And I just want to make sure I got it right, that you said the contract went in place for 3 years, it was stopped at 1 year, at which point it went away, and at which point a year from that, my electric bill went up 6%. So the net to me in 2 years is zero in terms of savings, because I got a 3% drop in July, and then a 6% increase in July of last year. So over a 2-year period, it looks like this. And if you add all the bars up, you get a zero-sum gain. Even 3% is $60 a year for me in terms of a home cost. So I'm wondering if you can help put that in perspective. Am I looking at the right number here? Because the number I'm looking at is the delivery charge every month on your electric bill and how it's changed. And I'm wondering if is it all that number, or is the renewable only a part of it? And I'll close by saying I'm absolutely supportive of it. I just want to make sure I understand the numbers.
Yeah, understanding it is definitely key, and it is, people don't spend sometimes a lot of time looking at their bills, and that's one of the wonderful things. The two things I'll say is, we do this all the time. My team and I is to work directly with people. We look at their bills and make them understand the program, or if they're not the program, what's happening with their bills. Part of our education is we worked with Central Hudson to create an Understanding Your Bill series of webinars that we have on our website, because it's a really important element of it. And I can't answer your questions directly now. I can say, this is about the supply portion of the bill. It doesn't affect the delivery. The delivery is purely Central Hudson. But I'm very happy, to contact me, and we'll dig into your bill to make sure you understand the program. This is what we do. And understanding the difference between our program and community solar, or having solar, which is a common confusion as well. So very happy to do that.
From 100,000 feet, when you looked at, if this went in place, you were looking at a $300 to $400 per home or per household reduction in costs. And since it actually went effect in July, and it stopped, if it had gone for 3 years, you would be looking at that, but it did go for at least 1 year, and what I saw was about a 3% reduction for me. It's about $60.
What did you do? Just to explain the $300 to $400 savings, that is an apples to oranges comparison. A green apple, if you will, is that our program fixed rate, that was 6.36 was the first contract. I'm actually forgetting. It was about 6.5 cents for what was supposed to be the 3-year contract. So comparing that flat line to the month-to-month changes by Central Hudson. So if you did that comparison, that's where the number would vet out. Comparing what you didn't pay versus if you were in the program and what you did pay for your supply portion of your usage.
Okay, because all I was looking at was what I was billed.
Yeah, so that we can look at it together to understand the differences. And I have charts and graphs to share.
What you would have billed if you were under Central Hudson, probably.
Right.
That would have been
That's
the
exactly
difference.
it.
So if you had the difference between the two,
And I've got that, I keep a chart for people to see on our site to see what Central Hudson's rate is doing and what our program rate is.
thank you. Anyone else?
There are more
I want to
sessions.
say one thing, I'm all for new clean energy, everything, but I do have a bad taste in my mouth of what happened here the last month or so ago. And to be quite honest, you have a lot of work to do to win me back, number one, I'll tell you that right now. I tell you, I've been on the board for many years here, and I go in the food town, and I got blasted by a lot of people saying, hey, who are you to make the decision on who I get my energy from? And believe me, I never had that happen to me before until we made that decision. So, again, I'm all for clean energy. I did the solar down on our rec center. I'm all for that type of stuff. But you have a lot of work to get me back on
If
that
I can just
side of
address
things.
that too, there's the 2 points to make about that too. And Supervisor, you mentioned, it is the fact that people, by and large, don't realize that someone is making the choice for them with no ability to have any input on the supply choice for them. And we've particularly seen in the last year how nutty that can be when Central Hudson, empowered by the original default, is making that decision. Just in the last 6 or 7 months, we've had it at 4.5 cents and 22 cents. Crazy fluctuations, and you're subject to that, and it's still up at 14 cents in the latest round, so that's what we're subject to. And I think it's an important first point that it's basically just changing someone's making the decision for them. It's a matter of who makes that decision, and it's closer to them if it's the local community leaders with their input through this public process about the decisions that are made and what the priorities are. And the second point about the process and a bad taste in the mouth, I definitely understand. It was unfortunate, but a comparison to what happens to individual people in contracts with ESCOs with weird fees and ballooning rates, being charged hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars in things that they should never pay. The program here, there's a good story, we did well. Bad, it ended sooner than we wanted it to, but consistent good is that you chose and you're in a partnership with a champion, an administrator who is there for your best interest. And the worst thing that happened to everybody was that they went back to the original default. No one was charged anything extra. There was no weird fees. It's just they had to go back to the default sooner than we wanted them to. Certainly that was bad, but it was relatively clean and protected. No one had to worry about a contract to negotiate out of. It's emphasizing the consumer protection elements of the program that I think are so valuable. And as we travel the winding and bumpy road to the new grid, there's going to be more interesting challenges, but also incredible opportunities. And so one of the things I love about the program is that we're in the community to continue to educate with your guidance, your leadership, to help the community members navigate that road as efficiently as possible. And basically what you choose is, even though you're making the choice, you're optimizing the choice for them and doing it without restriction, without contract. So I'm biased, of course, but I think there's really just upsides in the big
I was
scheme.
in the program, so I mean, I was all in.
And the opt-out is going to be very easy.
It has been,
We're
and
gonna
that's
guarantee
fully
that
on
that
me,
opt-out
so
is
for
gonna
that,
be-
yes.
You're going to
By
be
state
able-
design, but us doing it,
So we're going to
yes.
leave those at Food Town also, so people know how to get
Flyers, yes. So to opt out, just for folks to know, to opt out is just a phone call. In the mailing, there is a prepaid envelope that you just need to send that card back. You can use the web form. In the good old days, I think we're going to come back to it. Like I used to hold office hours down at the village. You can just do it in person. Any one action is sufficient. And to do it back, to get back into the program too. It's like a public swimming pool. Get out when you want, get back in when you want.
There's no option to opt out before you have to opt, there's no way not even to get it at all.
There is. I mean,
Oh,
if
there
you
is.
call
Okay.
Central
Well,
Hudson and say, put a block on my account, you won't be included. That's kind of like, it's not-
I think that kind of information needs to be
Yeah.
publicized.
Well, when we see the proposal, we can certainly.
Yeah,
That's
no, I'm
right.
looking forward to the next 3 months here, like I said, like I said, I'm all for clean energy, but you gotta win me back.
All right, thank you for all the time too.
Well,
tonight.
thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is discussion of the Conservation Preservation Plan.
I mislabeled it. It's the Community Preservation Plan. I apologize. So we have it corrected. So come on up.
I wasn't sure if I was off tonight.
Can you just come up to the mic, please?
Sure, yeah. Ted Warren, Hudson Hounds Land Trust. As you move forward to discuss this plan, I just wanted to reiterate some things that I think we've said when we've been here to speak to the board in the past. This plan is very thorough and I'm biased, but I believe well written. And I just wanted to emphasize that it's a really important planning document that sort of builds on what Philipstown already has in place. Philipstown has an embarrassment of riches in terms of conservation planning tools at their disposal. So this builds on things that you have, like the natural resources inventory, the open space inventory, and a community preservation plan is really sort of taking those elements to the next level. An NRI and an OSI are good sort of baseline documents. The community preservation plan really lays out your priorities for conservation, and it not only is an important tool for your planning board and this board to use when making decisions about land use and planning, it also shows real intent to the state agencies and the DEC, and sort of shows that the town is very serious and has clear priorities for what they think is important and should be preserved. The other thing I would add is that having a community preservation plan in place sort of equips the town to be at a next level in terms of securing grant funding. I mean, obviously this depends on the grants in question and the projects in question, but very often, again, state agencies like to see plans like this on the books. It sort of tells them that the town is very serious about these matters. And then the last thing I would add is that this plan lays the groundwork for, if there is interest on the part of the community, putting in place a community preservation fund, which is basically putting a transfer fee on real estate transactions that go into a fund that can then be used to preserve properties that are identified as priorities in this community preservation plan. So those are really the three main benefits to having this plan adopted as local law. So
Thank you so much, and thank you to the Land Trust. And I do want to thank the members of the task force that are listed as well. Nancy Berner, Laura Bozzi, Sean Conway, Crystal Ford, a lot of common names here, Joe Hirsch, Fred Osborne, Ashley Roush, Heidi Wendell, and Marilyn Young. Katrina, Ashley, Nicole, and yourself from the Land Trust as well. So we do take conservation seriously in the town of Philipstown. And I was here in 2011 or 2010 when they rezoned the entire town, and, it was going to be a catastrophe. And, we heard everything about it. And it's protected. We have a community that we love, and we'd like to keep it that way, without a doubt. So this was identified in the conservation, or the update for the,
Comprehensive plan.
there you go. There you go. I couldn't think for a second. So it was identified as a need. It also is something that's needed in order for us to do the Conservation Preservation Fund, as you had mentioned. You guys have laid out the entire process as per the state of New York as to what has to happen and how it has to happen. It's a great read. I enjoyed. There is a lot of interesting land that we could protect and should protect. We have some developers, we were threatened this time last year by a developer, and fortunately enough, we were able to secure that land. But if we had this plan in place and we had that fund, we would be able to literally purchase these properties and make sure that they're protected. We get a lot of property complaints, hey, why are you letting this person develop this piece of property? If you don't want it developed, then buy it. So this would be an avenue for us to purchase things for conservation purposes. So I certainly would support us moving forward with, presenting it. We'd have to present it as a local law. We would need to draw up a
Yes,
resolution.
you have to. You have to have a local law which establishes the transfer tax on sale of properties, which also establishes the fund that you're going
Well,
to.
that would be for the fund, but to adopt the community preservation plan. so-
No, I think that could be done by resolution if you want to add it to, just like your comprehensive plan. Usually you put it in as an addendum to it or something like that, so.
Okay.
And I suppose you could adopt it independently, but I think you'd want to tie the two together.
All right, so we would.
That's what many communities do, is they adopt a community preservation plan as an addendum to the comprehensive plan. They do mesh.
So if you guys are in favor, we'll have you draft a resolution for next month, and we can discuss it further next month's meeting.
Okay, I'll talk to you, John.
All right? You guys all set? Yeah. Everybody good? All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
very
Thanks for your
much.
time.
Thank you.
But for the fund, we have to welcome.
The fund is a whole nother.
Right, but we have to welcome you on,
Yes.
as a vote
Yes.
for the whole community.
You're up.
Next on the agenda, excuse me, is a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign the intermunicipal agreement for mutual aid in winter snow removal and ice control on public roadways with the Village of Cold Spring.
So this is something we did last year also with the Village of Cold Spring. They had an issue where their entire crew was out due to health reasons, so we helped them out. And we could always use a hand if the tables were turned. They did reimburse us for our time, so I would like to do it again this year. So I get a motion authorizing me to sign the intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Cold Spring.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution authorizing the supervisor to sign the contract for dog sheltering services with the Putnam Humane Society for 2023.
Oh, this is something we do every year, so I get a resolution authorizing me to sign the contract for dog sheltering service with Putnam Humane.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Van Tassel to sign the outreach worker services contract between Putnam County Office for Senior Resources and Town of Philipstown for the year 2023.
So interestingly enough, I ran into Mike Cunningham at the ceremony on Friday, and he was very happy to let me know that they had hired a replacement for our outreach worker. So we're going to go right back to the same scenario where he's going to be assigned to the town of Philipstown, and we'll be paying for half of that. So if everybody's okay with that, if we want an adjustment, I know you had mentioned something in email about I think it's covered now that we
Yeah.
have. Are you comfortable with it, Jason?
Yeah, I guess I think it's great that they've hired an outreach worker. Do you think it's possible that they would share at least a report back on the number of people they
I'm sure.
identify?
Would you like to
serve?
reach out to him? I'm sure. He's
Okay.
very cooperative.
Okay.
All right, so can we get a resolution authorizing me to sign that contract with the Putnam County?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution approving the quote for cleaning services from Blue Pristine Cleaning Services LLC in the amount of $620 per month with periodic cleaning for court set at $55 per cleaning, and authorizing the supervisor to sign said contract.
So, first of all, I'd like to thank Councilman Flaherty for soliciting a number of quotes for cleaning here at Town Hall. We're not unhappy with the job. The place is kept pretty clean, but the price, we are looking at a substantial, savings per month getting this clean. We have offered this rate to the current cleaning system, and they're not capable of matching it. So we'll give this new company a run. I mean, that's my feeling. So anybody else?
No, I think it's worth a try. I mean, it's a substantial difference here. We did reach out to our current cleaning person, and she wasn't willing to reduce her cost at this rate. So I guess the next thing would be contact Blue Pristine, see when they can actually get started, and then we'll have to give our current cleaning people notice that they'll be no longer in service. We're going to still need the current cleaning people to take care of the town garage, because I didn't want that was not part of the thing at this particular time, because we knew that we were going into a new building. So I kind of kept that out of the bidding process, because we really couldn't determine at that time what it was going to be.
Sounds good to me. Thank you,
So the
Bob.
current cleaning service is willing to remain until this service is in effect?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to notify her. I can give her a call tomorrow and let her know that we're going to be, but first I've got to call with Blue Pristine and see when they can get them on board before we can terminate the current week.
If not, you'll be cleaning.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem.
Nice and early.
All right. So can I get a motion hiring Blue Pristine Cleaning to do the services here at Town Hall?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye.
Next is discussion regarding the proposed New York State property law for emergency services volunteers.
Okay, so I was actually notified by about 5 different people, including our attorney, about a law that was put in on December 12th by Governor Hochul to support the emergency services volunteers. And what it would do is, if we adopt it, would a 10% of deduction of the assessed value on the principal residence of the volunteer. So as Steve had explained to me, in order for us to get this in for the 2023 calendar year, we would have had to have the entire process done and the application submitted and returned prior to March 1. So it's not going to happen. But I'd really like to see it happen for the 2024 calendar year. The other interesting part of it, Stephen, hopefully I'm right on this, but we would have to adopt it as well as the school, the villages, and the county, correct? In order for it to.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if the town adopts it and no one else adopts it, then the 10% exemption on assessed value would only be against town taxes. You need the county to adopt it to be against county taxes, fire districts against fire districts, school district against school district taxes.
Which would get pretty complex for our assessors.
Well, your assessor's going to be pulling her hair out as
Right.
far as that goes. So, but what you want to do, I would think, over the course of 2024 is reach out to all the other taxing entities and say, we would like to adopt this to give a tax break to our emergency responders. Are you willing to do the same? And if they say no, you're going to have to decide whether you're going to go ahead on your own or not. If you can coordinate it with everybody, it could wind up with, a substantial tax, a tax break for them. So it's the type of thing you're going to want to not only draft on your own, but coordinate with everybody else who taxes people in property, rather, in Philipstown.
And this only applies to current emergency services volunteers, right? As long as they're active?
2 years, right?
2 years?
Well, it applies to any currently active fire or ambulance, volunteer ambulance service people who've served at least 2 years. They're going to need to get a letter saying that they are in good standing. There's a provision in it that says that if they've served 20 years, even if they're no longer active, they would still get the exemption. And there's a provision that says if, God forbid, but I mean, they're killed in the line of duty, then their unmarried widow or widower spouse would be able to carry forward the exemption in, as long as they don't remarry in perpetuity. Now, it only applies to volunteer firemen and volunteer ambulance workers who live in Philipstown and who serve Philipstown. So there's a few qualifications that go with it, but
Can we, I mean, we all know, members of the emergency services know there's active, and then there's people that, I mean, the good standing thing, I mean, could we base it on the LoSAP program? All of our services utilize LoSAP. If we could say, if you meet the minimum requirements for LoSAP, then you will get is that something we could add as a caveat to the law?
Well, the law is not as well written as it might be, so it isn't real clear whether you could do that. The way that it's written is that they rely on the fire district or fire department or ambulance corps' requirements of participation to remain in good standing. So you wouldn't have somebody who's a firefighter or an ambulance worker in name only. There are a certain number of calls you have to go on, hours you have to complete to remain on the rolls in these. But it's up to the fire district and the ambulance corps to determine what those parameters are.
Who's in their good standings list, right?
Right. They decide what good standing is. So it's possible that you could write in something like that, but the law doesn't expressly allow you to. It's a brand new law, so it isn't real clear.
So what I would suggest, and I would recuse myself because I am a volunteer. I got 40 years, so do I get like a double deduction?
20%.
But I would certainly recuse myself from the vote. But I would suggest, I think it's something, we're always looking for ways to help the emergency services. They provide a service to the community that's not irreplaceable, but would be very expensive to replace. So I would certainly support it. I would suggest that we encourage the county and the two villages and the school to buy into it, and then roll it out for the 2024 calendar year. So we have, 10 or 12 months to get this together and then present it. So I will reach out to both villages. I did get an email from Mayor Winward this evening about it, so I know they're aware of it as well. But so we can work on this going forward and then discuss it. You guys all good with that?
I think it would be good to provide an incentive, too, to recruit new emergency
Tara told me she was going to
volunteers.
join the fire department.
Me and my 80-year-old back.
That's what you told me, Tara.
We'll answer the phones, Jim.
All right. Okay, so we'll plan on working on this over the course of 2023 and roll it out for 2024. You're up.
Next on the agenda is discussion regarding the state allowance for the continuation of virtual meetings.
Steve, this was something else you had brought to my attention, whether, is there any interest in us remaining, having the ability to do virtual meetings?
Well, here's the thing about that, okay? The way that the law is written, you can only hold, there's another older law, which I'm not going to get into. I'm just going to talk about the new law. You can only hold a virtual meeting if one of your board members is unable to attend due to a sudden, unexpected circumstance. It could be anything from being ill to having somebody in his family or her family ill to unavoidable business travel, whatever it may be, okay? If that happens, the board shall provide for a video conference meeting for that individual who can be at a different remote location. There must be a quorum of the board present for the public to attend. The meeting must be run simultaneously in person and by video conference. The public is allowed to attend by video conference if that one board member has said they can't attend and the meeting is held that way. You're required to keep a recording of it. You're required to produce a transcript of it on request. The law is silent on whether you can require the person requesting the transcript to pay for the transcription or not. So that's up in the air. I would think that you could, but the law does not expressly say so. So there's some bells and whistles that go with it. It's not just a blank check to hold video conference meetings if it's convenient or you find that there's a reason to. There must be, like I said, the prerequisite of a board member who says they can't attend. It has to be, something that just came up. There's notice requirements, of course, that go with it, so it can't be too sudden or you won't be able to notice it in time. And you have to be able to technologically hold your meetings both by in person and by video conference.
That's the part that scares me the most.
Well, that's why a lot of municipalities are opting out of it. There are, if you have a sophisticated and up-to-date, you're live streaming and you're recording your meetings and you're posting them online, you may be in a position to do this. If you are not doing those things, you could run into a situation where you try to hold a meeting and the video conference goes awry or some other problem comes up with recording it. And so I won't say a lot of municipalities, but several municipalities are saying we're going to pass on this. It's just not that big an advantage. Others are going forward with it, though.
So if there was 3 of us here, 4 of us sitting here, would we have to be able to provide video and voice appearance to?
Video. You have to, at the minimum, have a screen turned around that people can come
So
and
people
take a
can
look
watch,
at.
say Jason isn't here for some reason, they gotta be able to see Jason in his
If
farm.
they can hear Jason, they have to be able to see his smiling face on the screen, looking down, speaking to them,
So that could
I think that could create some
It could
technical
cause-
issues for
yeah,
the town of Philipstown at
definitely
this
could.
point.
Well, that's why I mention it, but I mean, it's out there as a possibility. You'd want to talk with your IT people before you undertake something like
Well,
this, but
Just for say Jason's not available, and he goes home and his internet isn't working at home, what would happen?
Well, we'd still have a quorum here, but.
yes, you
Right.
just wouldn't hold a video conference.
Right.
We just have to opt out of it, so.
Does that mean that you can't, if everybody was here, are you allowed to do both in-person and hybrid? Is the public allowed to attend both in-person and virtually?
That's absolutely right. In fact, it's required.
Okay, so,
I'm sorry, what did you say?
It's required. If you went video conference, because someone had said, board member said they couldn't attend, the public must be allowed to both attend in person or by video conference. If it's a Zoom meeting, for example, they wouldn't have to show up in person. They could if they wanted to, but they must be allowed to attend by Zoom, not just the board member who can't attend.
is this law only applying to if a board member is missing? Like, if we're all here, are you legally allowed to have both people attending virtually and in public?
No. It has to, the trigger for it is that there's a board member who, due to a sudden unexpected circumstance, cannot attend. That's what gives you the option of doing a video conference meeting. Absent that, you can't do it.
I personally think it would create some technical issues for the town.
I kind of agree
And
with that.
I mean, I would open to anybody else feel the same?
I mean,
No, you're not having it from a Little League dugout.
we're doing so well, our girls. No, of course, no, I completely agree with the technical issues. I mean, we barely have working computers here.
Yeah.
What's that?
We've been doing hybrid for the whole program.
But not with the board members. I mean, we
We
were,
never did it.
They were on Zoom.
No, but that's when everybody was on Zoom.
everybody was on Zoom. There was nobody here for those.
Yeah, but we only had a TV in the front where we could see the people on Zoom.
We never did.
Not the town board.
Not the town board, we never did. We did not.
Cheryl had a TV back there.
Yeah, planning had it, but
Yeah,
we
we
never
didn't.
did.
had our meetings via Zoom, but that's when the whole state was shut.
Right, we
Well,
didn't ever have both.
No.
So, if the whole board's in person, everybody, the audience has to be in person. If one board member is virtual, the audience can be virtual.
That's correct.
Has to be.
Has to be, okay.
All right, so if we do nothing, we will
It's
stay.
an opt-in law. You
All
don't
right,
have
so
to do anything.
I would suggest we opt out
I
and
say
stay out of
we
it. so.
Stay out of it for now.
Okay. Oh, yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can you come up to the microphone? Just possible for me to ask a question?
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't understand it. I made a New Year's resolution to attend these meetings every month. I've lived in this community for many, many years, and I've never really participated. It's
glad you're
very
here.
hard for me to drive down the mountain at night, especially when it's foggy. What you're saying is that my option is to either not be at the meeting or be at the meeting.
Or you can watch us, you can watch us on,
I can watch you,
But you can't,
Yes.
if there's no, but you don't interact.
but you would not be able to ask questions or interact, but you
but I
can.
can watch you
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
It's
from
on,
home.
she's
That
here.
resolution's gonna come true, you can just watch.
Okay.
We are
Thank you.
on, we are on TV.
And the
Yeah, we're
meetings
on
also get
YouTube right now.
posted after the fact as well. If you weren't able to make a meeting like live, we post the links for all of our meetings on the website also.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for coming out this evening, we appreciate it.
We're keeping attendance going forward.
Watch meetings after this experience.
Probably won't. I don't blame you. All right, next up.
Next is discussion regarding the position of Highway Superintendent and it being an elected versus an appointed position.
So this may be something that's a little complex at this hour of the night, but it is, I've never quite understood why the rec director is a hired position and the highway superintendent is an elected position. So it doesn't seem like it should be a popularity contest to me. It should be a knowledge-based job, and you should be appointed. Fortunately, we have Adam, who is very capable. He's got 20-plus years' experience, but he literally took a risk by running for that position. Not that I think anybody would have beaten him regardless, but I'm just using him as an example, but he had to take a chance to run for that position. If he lost,
He's out.
well, he would still have his job, but then he would be working underneath of the guy who he lost to. So it probably would be pretty uncomfortable. He's a unique individual, and I think the fact that the difficulty it would be for us to replace him, or Carl in that matter, I mean, his predecessor, it's not something I think should be an elected position. I think it should be based on an appointment on knowledge rather than a popularity contest. So I had asked Steve a while back when Adam was considering this, but the timeline didn't work out to do it, so it couldn't have been appointed. But I think it's something we seriously should consider. Steve, do other towns do it as appointed, or is it strictly?
It's a mix as far as that goes. Many have appointed highway superintendents, some have elected highway superintendents. It's,
What would it require? Would just a local law?
you need a local, I think you ought to amend your code too, which says that it's an elected position, and it would be subject to permissive referendum. If people wanted to petition and say, no, we want a elected highway super, then, you might have to put that on the ballot. I think it highly unlikely that would happen, though. So you prepare a local law and you'd change it over to an appointed position. Yeah, that's what it would take.
I mean,
Well, I know you mentioned the rec. I know you mentioned the rec director, but those persons has to take a test too, right, to be qualified for that. So there is some criteria
Absolutely.
around that. Again, I know what you're saying. Somebody out of the blue could come up and run against Adam in November. Could be a
has no
very, very
qualification.
popular person in the town
Yeah.
and win the election. And then, I understand what you're saying
and
there.
have zero
And
qualifications.
have zero
Right,
qualifications.
That's the interesting part. Right.
But-
I mean, I would hope our voters are smart enough,
Yeah,
would be
no,
smart enough
but
to see through that,
There is
but,
that possibility.
which they usually are. But, I mean, there is the possibility of somebody, and like I said, it was a big chance for Adam
Yeah.
to take that, to run for
It
that
was a
chance.
number.
Fortunately, he did,
Yeah,
and the
definitely.
community supported him, as they should, but, I don't know, anybody else?
Well, I think has been doing a great job for many years, and I think it is a risk that he takes, running against someone who may not have the knowledge or expertise. And I think the highway department, currently works very hard, and residents are satisfied. I think if there was dissatisfaction, then we might question it, but I think it's run very smoothly under both Adam and Carl.
Yeah. And the assistant.
I do agree. I think the people in our community are smart enough to know who to vote for in a position, any position that we have open for anybody who wants to run. And you can come and run, and we got elections coming up this year. Anybody can run against us if we decide to run again. So, but I think people in our community are smart enough to make the right decision. But on the other hand, I know he took a big risk, and I appreciate what he did, and he's doing a great job, and like, don't foresee anybody surpassing him while I'm on the board, at least.
And, I mean, ultimately, it would be no different than any other position in the town, where if you weren't doing your job, you
Right.
could be terminated.
Well, years ago, the assessors were elected officials, and that got changed, I don't know how long ago, but at one point, the assessors were elected officials.
Yeah. Jason? No. Meg?
Yeah, Adam's great. I think he did a great job.
All right, so would you guys be interested in us proposing it being changed to a appointed position rather than an elected position?
I think an appointed position is the route that we should go for this specific.
Agreed?
I would agree.
Yeah, I would agree as well. So Steve, could you start that process?
Law and a resolution
All
introducing.
right, sounds good. All right, thank you, and thank you, Adam and Tom, and everybody up there. All right.
Sorry. Next is a resolution approving the purchase of a Ford F-250 XLT crew cab truck for the Highway Department in the amount of $57,337, and this is a roll call vote.
This is part of the budget, the lease line for the adopted budget. Adam is, he's like a hands-on guy. He's not interested in utilizing the little SUV that the town of Philipstown has, that most highway superintendents have. So we're going to put that vehicle into inventory. Maybe the building department will take it. I know one of their vehicles is kind of getting old, so we might be able to give it to them to replace one of theirs. But this vehicle will be able to plow snow and do other things for the town as well. So, Steve, you had addressed something prior to the meeting about this purchase, so if you just want to explain that.
A bit brief. I was under the impression this was going to be a straight purchase. In fact, it's going to be a lease purchase. When you do a lease purchase, the town is required to prepare an evaluation of financial alternatives form. We don't have that for tonight, but you can approve it later on, even if you go forward with the resolution now. It's not going to be a problem, but this will be a two-step. You're going to see this again, all right? In probably, the 18th we're meeting? So we'll have the EFA, I'm sure, for you by then. You could just approve it, and then that'll be finalized.
We want to just
So we can approve it, and it will be pending your follow-up.
There'll be a follow-up with an EAF, yes. They can go forward with the purchase. You're just
Can I
going to
get a resolution approving the Highway Department purchase of a F-250 XLT crew cab truck for the Highway Department in the amount of $57,357?
so move.
Second.
Second.
Councilwoman Farrell.
I vote aye.
Councilman Angel.
Aye.
Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cotter.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution approving the Highway Department purchase of a 9-foot 2-inch stainless steel V plow from Ness Automotive on Sourcewell pricing member 95830 for $8,877.90.
This is also a budget item for the 2023 budget. So can I get a motion to approve the purchase of a 9-foot 2-inch stainless steel V plow from Ness Automotive on Sourcewell pricing?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote
On
aye.
another note regarding that, as you know, we allowed to put a bunch of equipment up for bid. And from what I understand, getting some auction is going pretty good. We got like $7,000-8,000 for an old grader we had. So some of these costs are being offset.
If I'm not mistaken, we're in the $70,000 of
Yeah, that's what I
recoup
think since they started it.
for a bunch of steel that was laying. Excuse me.
Yeah, altogether it's like 70, yes.
So that will offset in the budget some of these costs?
Yes.
Next is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Van Tassel to sign the contract between the town and Ron J. Gaynor, PEP LLC for the fiscal year 2023.
So Ron is irreplaceable to the town. Excuse me. You want to take over, Bob? I can't read.
As Johnny says, Ron does a lot of work for us on the engineering side. Every time we call him, he's very active and everything. We ask him to do things, and he gets things done. So I think it's in our best interest to sign this contract with Ron to move forward. He's really knowledgeable engineer and always has Philipstown in his best interest when it comes to this, so I would think it'd be the best thing for us to do. So I have a motion to accept this.
So,
Second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Next is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Van Tassel to sign the contract between the town and Max Garfinkel as the town's wetlands inspector and natural resource officer for the fiscal year 2023.
Okay. Max has been at the position for several years already. He's doing an excellent job. He's always involved with the Conservation Board. Anytime he's requested to do anything, he's on the job. He attends meetings, he goes down to the field, and he does an excellent job. So I would recommend that we sign this contract with him to keep him as a wetlands inspector. Someone make a motion, please?
so moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
I vote aye.
Okay. Now he's back.
Just in time to adjourn.
Next on the agenda is to schedule any workshops or meetings. We do have a workshop scheduled for January 18th with, I'm still stuck in 2022, sorry. That should be January 18th, 2023 with the Philipstown Trails Committee. And then we have our regular meeting scheduled again for February 2nd, 2023.
Yes.
Nothing, we have no other requests for meetings, correct?
Not at the moment, no.
That's good, then let's go with what we got here, Scott.
One quick question.
Sure.
So at the last December meeting, we all discussed the Central Hudson case and the Public Utility Law Project, which has brought that motion against Central Hudson.
Yep.
And you all asked, so you all asked me to reach out to them. They said that they would be willing to come and brief the board on the motion against Central Hudson and what can be done for Philipstown residents and that. Would you want me to,
Yeah.
would you prefer them to come to a board meeting? Should I reach out to them?
Or a workshop,
Or a
either
workshop,
one.
yeah, one.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so-
Whenever they're available.
Okay.
And I have to apologize, I will miss the February meeting. My daughter has a campus visit to one of the colleges she was accepted to, so I have to go that day.
Next on the agenda is the Code Enforcement Monthly Report. This is for December 2022. Total fees collected, $9,500.70. There were 19 total permits issued, 2 additions, alterations, or repairs to residential buildings, and 17 all other permits, including pools, sheds, decks, plumbing, and HVAC. And that's it.
Great.
Thank you to
Slow
Greg.
month for him compared to the last few months.
Next is any other business that
You guys have anything else you'd like to discuss? No? Good? You want to get away from me? I don't blame you.
All right.
The audience, anything from the audience? Yes, Heidi?
Can you just come up
You
to
got
the
it.
mic, please?
If you could keep it brief, we'd appreciate it.
No, it's going to be really
Thank you, it's not,
so
it's,
brief.
Can't believe you're walking up tonight.
But I was just wondering, what is the purpose of the crew cab truck? Is it just to replace current equipment, or is it something new?
the highway
So,
department?
yeah, item 10, the resolution approving purchase of a Ford.
Yeah, that's
You
going,
guys-
adding
you
to
guys
the
voted for
fleet, our fleet of highway equipment for plowing snow and
Okay.
maintenance. Yep,
And so it's just replace prior equipment?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. I wasn't sure what that was for.
Problem.
Pretty expensive.
Yeah, anything these days is, nothing's,
Yeah.
you know, it's, especially when you're talking trucks.
Yep,
And for vacancies, we do actually have one because we have the planning board.
yes,
We have
we
Kim's
have.
position on the planning board.
We were doing good there till you mentioned that, Tara, thank
I
All right,
know,
so
I'm
let's,
sorry.
try to advertise for that, Tara, when you
Yeah,
can, please.
that, and I also have to advertise for the court, part-time
Yes.
court clerk also, yeah.
Assistant, yep. Anything else from the audience? Going once, going twice? All right. Okay, vacancies, we have one, approval of vouchers, general,
So moved.
second,
Second,
all in favor,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Highway, second,
Second.
all in favor,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Continental Village Park District,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor, and I vote aye. Continental Village Water District,
So moved.
second, all in favor,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Thank you very much.
Second.
We
any other.